this has sort of multi levels of understanding about it. And there's sort of the surface level, and then it goes deeper, and then it's almost like if you understand what a fractal is a big picture made up of small things that are the same. And in nature, that happens in things like ferns, where you have ferns made up of fronds that are made up of fronds that are made up of fronds. And essentially, the creation functions that way. Everything really is made out of the image of God and how God created it, and then everything within it, from the sort of micro level up to the macro level, are all basically the same form. And some of what Metatron's cube represents is sort of how things are dimensionally spaced. Now, my first experience with Metatron's cube was very similar to yours, in that I was actually in a group encounter, and a number of us had engagements with a shape and a color and different aspects of it. And then we all shared what we had saw and what we felt about it. And then we then said, what is this? And that's when we then found that this shape had a name, and this shape then was related to something that God wanted us to know. Because it was like, well, why did we see that? Because then it opened up a realm of understanding that God works in a sacred geometric way, and the way everything is created with frequency and energy and light and form and mathematics. And a lot of this is really what all this represents. But on a micro scale, I have that picture of the cube, or the form of the cube, in the Merkaba within me, within my core of my being, which actually is where I am energized from heaven, and where I can communicate with heaven and engage with heaven through doorways or portals within me, which is also in the form of that Metatron's cube shape. Now, often people think, well, who's Metatron? Well, the name is being given to this cube that reflects Metatron is an angel that's the chief of the order of the chaos, which is the living creatures, which are not normal shaped things. So there could be pillars of fire or fiery chariots, but they're living, but they just don't look human. And Metatron's sort of the cube has a perspective that it is sort of living or sentient in its form. And Metatron is also known as the keykeeper or timekeeper of heaven. So often it's to do with seasons and opening of opportunities and doors and things like that. So each of the pictures of it, when you look at a picture of it and how it's formed, has what I would call pyramids on each end, and those represent Father, Son, Spirit, and us in agreement. There's lots of different ways it's broken down, to the cube at the center of it, to the shapes around it in sort of the dodecahedron type shapes that are there. And it's quite a fascinating thing. You think, well, what is the point of it? Well, I've gone into the cube in encounters, and within the cube have experienced coming into agreement and alignment with the heart of God within it. Now every time I'm engaging with the light of God's presence, a geometric shape forms around me that conforms me to the heart or intentions of the Father. And I'm shaped by it. So I've seen lots of different aspects to this over the years. And I'm sure there's lots more of them. I would encourage you, if God showed you this, then there's a reason he showed you it. And I will just be open to ask him, is there anything I need to understand? Is there anything you want me to pursue on it? How do I engage it? And sometimes you might be looking at a bigger scale of, well, all of the dimensions are connected. When I've engaged in other dimensions, I've seen that same shape, which represents portals into other dimensions, multiple ones, all connected in a form and a shape. Because all of the sort of points of that are circles, which are connection points. And a lot of it is also about union and oneness, and how we come together in many different forms into one sort of shape that is made up of the whole. And another way of looking at it, you could say, well, the body is made up of many different parts, and this sacred geometric way God has created things actually is made up of many different parts, but they function together as one. And that's another aspect of it. So I'm sure there's lots more that you'll probably understand and engage as you pursue it. But I wouldn't get too concerned about, oh, I need to understand everything about it. Just pursue the things that God reveals to you on your heart. And if there's more you need to know in the future, then I'm sure God will unveil that, and the Father will reveal what you need in it. And a lot of these things can be a little bit sort of esoteric in that they're like, well, a bit of a mystery. Why is it like this? What I can say is, looking backwards, I can see that my understanding and my revelation increased from an initial experience in many things of what was all that about? What did that mean? Some of it's symbolic, and therefore you need to understand the symbolism. And but quite often I've been like, okay, but I treasure it in my heart. And by treasure it in my heart and brooding on it, it then begins to unveil and produce more as I go on. And then I look back and think, oh, I've been on a journey of discovering what this is all about. And I'm probably still on the journey of discovering even more what it's about. But I have sort of more of an inkling now than I did at the beginning. And I've had experiences with it, but have been very helpful along my journey as well. So I just encourage you to just do everything in intimacy with the Father, and just continue to be open to pursue his heart. If you enjoy these videos, would you please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe? It really does help. Thank you very much.